In this episode, we are speaking with fellow Polaris Game Voyager, Valinda Kelly. Now, she's going to share with us the truly inspirational story of how, against all odds, she transformed the anger and resentment caused by a traumatic and abusive childhood into the empowered, authentic relationships that she holds to this day. And also what role the Polaris game played in helping her bring that about. So if you want to be inspired by Valinda's example of what's possible for all of us and learn more about the impact that the Polaris game could have on your life, stay tuned.
Welcome to Follow the Calling.
Be confident in knowing how to get the results you want.
Be secure in knowing who you really are.
Be inspired by the possibility of the difference you're here to make.
Follow your calling and experience true fulfillment. So welcome to another episode of Follow the Calling. And today we are joined by the Unlimited Universal Unicorn, also known as Valinda Kelly. She is a fellow Voyager in the Polaris game. And we just wanted to take a moment to highlight Valinda because her growth has been incredible. And she is an inspiration to us and to all of the Voyagers in the Polaris game, and has been from the beginning. So welcome, Valinda. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we're just going to jump right in. And I'd like to ask you, what do you feel like the greatest struggle or dissatisfaction you were experiencing in your life before the Polaris game?
Well, I was molested by my uncle at 3.5 and repeatedly beaten and raped throughout my life until I ran away at 11, and I asked the police officer when he was calling my parents to hang up the phone because he's either going to pick me up again dead or for murder. So he could choose, and put myself in a foster home. And that was the best thing I could ever do. But I buried everything, all my past. I just buried it and went on with my life. You don't think about it anymore. It's done. It's over. But it kept creeping back out into little things. I ended up in ICU at 33 and decided to try and get back in contact with some of my family. And, things start emerging and you try and take care of it on your own. And I thought I was handling it just great until a friend of mine referred me to the Polaris game. And oh my gosh, I realized that I had a lot more locked down than I had thought.
So before we kind of go into starting to play the game, what do you feel like the biggest impact all of that was having on your life? And how did that make you feel?
I had such anger and hatred buried down deep, and I had no way of releasing it. And I didn't even really recognize where it was coming from. I mean, I knew, my past, obviously, but that certainly couldn't have been it, is what I kept thinking to myself. No way, everybody goes through shit. That's not me, And just being able to go in and really deal with the root of the issue was releasing and life-changing for me.
So before the Polaris game, I mean, you spoke into it a little bit just there, but what steps had you taken before the Polaris game in dealing with this issue for yourself, because obviously this anger and this hatred you're talking about that you were carrying around was having a big impact in your life. First, I'm sure that was really impacting your family life and your relationships, right? I mean, just to ask a little bit more about that, actually.
Yeah, actually, it had it almost ruined my marriage with my husband and my relationship with my sons. I was doing some personal growth on my own, trying to, release everything, but I thought I was doing good, and I had come a long way, but there was still resentment with my husband. I still, like, every now and then when he would touch me, I would cringe, and I didn't really put what that was together, why I was reacting the way I was. I would just gush out the most horrific words and things to say just because he didn't put a dish away, or, something stupid,
sure.
And I was doing that to my family and not even realizing that I was kinder to someone I didn't know off the street than I was to my own family.
That is often the way,
and
isn't it?
Really,
if we were carrying around the hurt inside, it's just asking to be let out of us, isn't it? Because we're keeping it in, we're carrying it around, and then our family members are the ones where we lower our guard, and then that can be where it comes out. But it's like puzzling, isn't it? It's confusing. Why would we do that to the people closest to us? Why did they suffer? And it is, isn't it? It's because it's trying to come out anyway. It wants to be released.
Yeah.
And that was your experience. It was overspilling, and I should imagine that was really confusing for you, that you would be dealing with that. And you mentioned that you were doing some other kinds of personal development as well previously. And did you find that any of that helped at all?
It helped as far as taking a kinder approach with my kids and with me, but I guess I was fooling myself, because when I look at it now, back then, oh my God, I'm doing great. I'm just fine. Things are getting better.
Yeah.
But I was just putting a Band-Aid over it rather than actually dealing with it. I mean, when I was going through this, when I first got put into a foster home, they sent me to a therapist. And he basically told me that it was all my fault and that everything I did had to have been because I did it for a reason. And that's why they did what they did to me. And so I really never wanted to go to a therapist. But when I started feeling all this anger coming up, I went back I was 32 when I started seeing a therapist again. And that's when all this started coming back. And then it threw me into ICU. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't go that route. And then I met a friend of mine, Tiffany Ledesma, and she said, oh, let's go to this seminar. And she took me to a seminar which was about relationships. And that was really eye-opening, and then from there is where my personal growth started going. I started, watching videos and, just focusing on the way I spoke and, but it was, like I said, it was a Band-Aid. I didn't have the full tools to help me.
Sure.
So you were mentioning before that that you were referred to the Polaris Game, actually, and when you had that conversation, when you decided to join, what were your intentions in joining, and what were your expectations?
I didn't really have any expectations because, like I said, since 33, I'm 50 now, and when I started the Polaris Game, I was 49, so that puts you in a time frame. I'd been going through this growth process on my own, so I was like, well, I've already been doing this for 19 years or whatever it is,
Yeah.
Really, how's this going to work? But you know, any little thing's going to help, you know, let's try it. It's probably just like another seminar, you know, type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And all she told me was, I'm doing this group thing, and it really makes you look at your life differently. You're going to experience some things that may be uncomfortable, but you just have to see for yourself. And I said, okay, no problem. Because I trust her, you know, really, we've been friends forever, and she hasn't strayed me wrong. So I'm like, sure, I'll try it. You know, what do I have to lose? That's my thought. What do I have to lose? Mm-hmm. Well, little did I know I had my whole past to lose. And it's been awesome.
Love that.
Oh, that's amazing. So in that time, like in deciding to join and maybe in the first bit of learning what it was all about, did you have any hesitations?
To be honest, when we first started and we went through the documents, I thought, oh my God, this is a bunch of crap. How can filling out this little form help me in any way? And so I was really skeptical on the whole thing to start in, but I had promised her, and I am very big on my word. So I had told her I would give the Odyssey my 100% chance. You know, I'd jump in, eyes wide open, feet on the floor, and do whatever work needs to be done. Mm-hmm. But if this didn't work, I'm out. I'm still here.
So you found it was working, at least. That's one good thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you really have taken it on in great leaps and bounds. I'd like to take you back, if I can, to your first Odyssey, because you know an Odyssey in the Polaris game is a 3-month period, and we play the Polaris game in cycles. And you know the idea of the game is to keep playing the game. That's when I feel that most people get most out of it, when they continue to play the game. It's not, we don't treat this like a 3-month program that you go through and then you're done. You know, this is an ongoing thing that people find. When people find that this is working for them, it tends to be an ongoing thing in their life. And you yourself have played several Odysseys with us so far, and you're continuing to play with us. But can you think back to your first Odyssey with us? Can you share a little bit about your experience of your first Odyssey? Because I know a lot's changed for you since. I don't know if you can remember back.
Oh, that one is like the most vivid in my mind. Don't ask me about last one, because that one's blurred. But the first one is the most remembering one, because that is the one that shifted everything in my life for me.
Yeah.
When I first started, though, you go through the documents and it's like, okay, what do I want to play with? What am I most afraid of? And it was, okay, I'm afraid of failing or something little. I don't remember those details that much, but I remember that when I started playing, I was only 2 weeks in, I think it was. And Tiffany Gerber had reached out to me and said, it seems like something's off. And I said, I don't know what it is. I can't seem to figure out my quest. It doesn't, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm fumbling. So she just kind of asked me the questions again, but in a different way to make me understand it a little better. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it went, aha, I know exactly what I'm playing with. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm just going to just go straight for it. And I'm going to play with my childhood. I'm going to start there because, like Tiffany Gerber said, everything seemed to revolve around that child, because that was where all my blockage was. I couldn't get to that point because I couldn't embrace her. I couldn't even look at her, really. I couldn't go there. And I knew that if I was going to fix anything in my life, I had to go there first.
Right.
And so that's what I did. I jumped in and went straight for that.
Gotcha.
That was the hardest thing to do, but the most rewarding.
Sure. That's a big big deal that you decided to face that. It took such courage.
Yes.
And we just like to be here in acknowledgement of you for that, as always. And this is why I think that you've become such a leader in your own right within the Polaris game. We believe that all our Voyagers are leaders, but you really have stepped into that because, you know, you've become a leader in your own life. You know, you're no longer, not to say that you were, but there's now absolutely no trace of you being a passenger or a spectator in your own life. You're now powerfully in control of where you're headed. Whereas before you were
I got to release the victim.
Sure, right. So the victim, the side of that really is disempowering is the victim is driven around in their life by their thoughts and their emotions. And, you know, myself and Tiffany in the past have both had that experience in an extreme way. And so that's why we created the Polaris game, because it was what we needed the most to support us in our growth. And it's seeing you step into that leadership for yourself and facing your fears in that way, in such a bold, courageous way that is so inspiring for everybody else playing the game. And there's so many inspiring people playing the game. But I feel for you, you know, it was the courage with which you showed to face such a big, almost insurmountable task. I mean, it was a horrific thing that happened in the past. And for you to turn around and face that was quite something. So in playing that Odyssey, you said that you had a bit of an aha moment around what it was you were playing with when you had the conversation with Tiffany here. It was like, so you kind of realized that you had to turn around and face that for yourself. But in beginning to play with that, once you then had made that decision, can you remember any particular shift or aha moment that you had around that situation for yourself?
The biggest one for me in the beginning was I was always taught by my father that you don't cry, you don't show emotion. That's weakness. Right. You don't need to be a sniveling little bitch. You just suck it up, buttercup, and that's it. Don't show anything. And so I never did. I always kept it in and bottled it up and bottled it up and bottled it up.
Sure.
And once I was actually given permission to show my emotions and release what I was holding for so long, and trust me, it was not a pretty cry. I think I cried literally for 2 days straight. And my family, I love them to death. Not one time did they say, "What is wrong with you?" Or they just said, "Mom, if you need more time, we're here." You know, and
amazing.
I never would have thought that would have been possible in the past, but they saw the shift in me coming. And once I realized and embraced and let go of being the victim, because outwardly, I'm the survivor. I'm tough. I can do this on my own. I don't need anybody's help.
Yes.
But deep down, that little girl was saying, you know, somebody needs to help me. I need something, and I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest, oh my God, you know, just those little questions she was asking. Everything kept coming back to that little girl, and I didn't realize it before.
Got ya.
So
in a way,
that was like,
I'm hearing you saying as well that you, in giving yourself that space to feel and process and let out that emotion, the surprise that you felt that you're in the way that your family responded to that. So immediately then it's now allowing you to receive love from people in ways that you had never been able to receive before, because you didn't have that love for yourself, that acceptance for yourself. And as soon as you gave that to yourself, you received it from others. That's beautiful. Like I really love that. And yeah, I know that that's been very much my experience in a very different way on the surface, but in my own way, it's a very parallel experience. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Valinda. Cheers.
So Valinda, like we've been saying several times, actually, you've been playing multiple Odysseys with us, and we're just finishing up our third one together. And we're so grateful to have you in our space. And over the course of those 3 Odysseys, can you share with us where you've seen evidence of a breakthrough? And by a breakthrough, what we mean is that you're actually experiencing the real change in your life.
Each Odyssey has given me something different, because with each Odyssey, you don't have to, but with me, I play with something a little different each time. I try and make sure that I finish one. So even if I have to bring what I was in the first Odyssey with into my second one, I continue through until I've felt complete on that. And then I move to the next one. But the biggest breakthrough definitely was with my husband. I mean, healing my past, that was huge, but I need to be right now in the present, and right now the present was crumbling. So with healing my past, I was able to step into right now, into the current. And this Odyssey, I'm doing a lot with my anger, because it's still there, even though I work on it. And, it's very easy to fool somebody for a very short conversation. But when you're right in the middle of somebody that's with you all the time, you can't hide it. It comes out. And I battled a lot with suicidal thoughts, and I cut at an early age. And I even went through, oh my God, I'm bipolar and schizophrenic and, self-diagnosis and stuff. And it wasn't until playing the game that I realized that, I'm putting so many labels, like everybody else has labeled me my whole life. And now I'm doing that to myself. And that was like one of the biggest breakthroughs is I don't have to label myself anything except Valinda. I just have to be me. And that was like the biggest thing. And I started having family meetings, and that was like the biggest life changer for us. Is we all sat down, and whether we just stared at each other for a half an hour, we stared at each other. But eventually we started to talk, and that just opened up so many channels for us. And things have really blossomed since then for me.
Yeah. Can you share? Can you share what do you feel like has blossomed? Just maybe one thing.
My confidence has really blossomed. My self-esteem has really, really improved, because I always, you're told something so many times your entire life, you believe it,
Sure.
You really, it doesn't even feel like a belief. It just feels like that's the way it is, period, And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was huge.
How about your relationship with your husband and your kids? You talked about that was a real struggle in the beginning. How would you describe those relationships now?
So much more healthier. My son's not afraid to come up and talk to me anymore. I can always tell, like, we always talked. I mean, it's not like he hid in his room and I hid in mine, but we never really had deep conversations. And now, like, he'll come in the middle of the night when I'm just laying there, because he knows I don't sleep very well. And he comes in and he'll just sit and talk to me for hours. And I've never had him do that with me before, ever.
It's lovely.
And even about girls, it's like, that was like, he would never talk to me. He would just be like, oh yeah, this is my girlfriend. And oh, hi, type thing.
Oh, right. She's coming in as well. Like, fantastic.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? And now it's like, he's very open with me. He, lets me know everything. And before it'd be like, where's Brandon? Where did he go? I don't know. He must have went out, and I wouldn't know. And with Chris, it's my husband. I don't have that like literally, I would be sometimes repulsed when he would come near me. And that's just from my experiences in the past with intimacy. And now I don't have that problem. It's so much more healthier, and we actually can have conversations where I don't just like turn into the exorcist and spit vomit all over him. You know, I mean, it was pretty bad. I can get worse than a sailor. I can get really mean and vicious real fast.
Sure.
And, you know, I've learned to be able to not control that, but just to take that pause and, is this really how I want to respond? Is that really who I am in this moment? Is this even called for at the time? That, you know, like, you know, he's just talking about tomorrow I'm going to work late, and here I'm like, oh, great, I got to fucking do it. You know, I mean, like, and he's like, whoa, where did that come from? You know?
Right.
And I'm not doing that anymore. So that's a blessing.
Beautiful. So good.
Yeah, I can just really feel it in the energy of you right now, and it's definitely coming through on video. But I imagine that it's also coming through for the people who are just listening to the audio version of this episode. You really just have such a nice smile on your face, and just this light energy about you, and it's really, really beautiful to see.
Very nice.
So I just. Yeah, I want to acknowledge that. Now, Valinda, you may feel like you've already answered this, but I'm going to ask you the question specifically. Why have you chosen to keep playing the Polaris game? Why 3 Odysseys?
Why not? I mean, you get up every day, you go to bed every day, you brush your teeth every day. This is all life, right? And how could I not go through my life trying to better myself? You know, I mean, I tried on my own, and where did it get me? Yeah, it got me a couple steps forward, and then I'd fall 2 steps back. But since I've been playing the game, I'm just very consistent because not only do I have the tools where I can check in with myself, but I have the whole group. I have the community behind me, you know?
Yes.
And even if it's only one other person playing the game, we have each other's backs. You know, if I, as everybody says, they've fallen off their game. And I say, if you're not dead, you didn't fall off your game, because each day gives you another chance, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's the way I look at life now. It's, you know, this game has brought back so many good memories that I didn't even know I had.
Oh, wow.
You know, my Grammy, I love my Grammy, but my Grammy always used to say, she painted her wall brown one time, and I asked her, why would you paint it that ugly brown? And she said, well, if you go to bed every day looking at dirt, when you wake up in the morning, you're happy to see flowers. And I'm like, what? Now I get it. I get it. So I painted my bedroom wall brown.
Right.
You know? And it's like just little things, you know, things that you bury. And if this game can give me that much clarity in my life out of something that was a cesspool of crap, why wouldn't I play? Even if it's something as little as what outfit to wear, you know, can set me off. I'm not doing that anymore. I have the tools and the support to help me, you know, take that pause and just be there for myself. And I've learned how to meditate through this.
Oh, right.
Which is awesome.
And you know, that isn't, just to be clear, that meditation, it's not like that's not a part of the game unless you choose it to be so, right? So that's just something you've taken on as part of your game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
I love that. And what you were saying about keep playing the game and why wouldn't you continue to better yourself and all of that, it's like, yeah, I absolutely hear you on that. And I know that in me and Tiffany's experience, it's the fact that every game opens up new layers of things that we previously thought we'd made so much progress with, and we had. but there's always something more to discover. And the reason I feel that is because I would term it less that we're not to at all disagree with what you were saying, Valinda, but I think of it less that we're bettering ourselves, but that we're discovering the greatness that we already are. So it's almost like, rather than adding something to who we are, which is the traditional outside in way of going about life, what we're doing here is uncovering who we've always been. Because the game is built on the belief that you are already whole, perfect, and complete, and that you already have everything you need, that everything is happening for you and nothing is happening to you. And I'm finding that it's almost like as we unpeel the layers of the onion, we're getting down to the core of who we really are. And who we are at the core of our being is complete. You know, we don't really need all these things to be added to us so that we can be complete. We're already complete. And it's like uncovering all of those layers that gets us in touch with, like I say, who we really are. And then the point is, that's yours. That can't be taken away. You know, it's like when you add stuff to you from the outside, that can be taken away. You know, if you rely on money, on cars, on a big house, if you rely on a prestigious career, all of those things are great and there's nothing wrong with them, but all of those things can be taken away. But what can never be taken away is who you are at the core of your being. And what that is it shines forth true peace and happiness and contentment and basically fulfillment. Because we are the source of our own fulfillment, and yet here we are going out there into the world chasing it. And you're a great example, Valinda. I want to acknowledge you for uncovering that for yourself more and more and more. You just up your game every time. And one of the agreements that we have in the game is that what you put in is what you take out. The quality of our experience is only ever going to be a direct reflection of who it is we're choosing to be in each and every moment. And who you're choosing to be, Valinda, is evident in the results you're getting.
Yes.
You know, and that's why we felt so strongly about having you on to interview you today, because you really, really light up our heart, because it makes everything that what we've gone through to create this space worthwhile, because we did this initially for ourselves, and to see other people benefiting from that, especially in the way that you have, is incredible. And that just really lights us up. So
absolutely.
I just want to ask you, Valinda, actually, like thinking about, you know, seeing how far you've come, if the old you pre-Polaris Game, if the old you could see the current you, what would she say?
Wow. It's hard to even step back into that old me, because she's now integrated into the new me. Thank you. She would just tell me thank you. And that I love you.
That's beautiful. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's so simple, but so beautiful. Thank you, Valinda.
So in the light of that, Valinda, what do you feel is possible for you now that wasn't possible for you before?
The future, number one, because if I would have kept down the road I was going in and out of dark places a lot. But my sanity, I have my sanity still intact, because that was being questioned for a while. And just, I feel whole. I don't feel fragmented anymore.
Wow.
And I went through my entire life feeling that way, compartmentalized, I guess is how I always used to put it, you know. Well, that goes into that spot. You know, I have little holes and I just fill them up as I go along. And I don't have that anymore. And I think the biggest change is, you know, my mom had a stroke in 2018, a really bad one. And I had been in contact with her about a year or so before that, just talking to her. Oh, no, 2012 we started talking. Because I confronted my dad right before he died. And so I had thought, I healed this, which I didn't, but I thought I had. At least I got to say my piece before he passed. Mm-hmm. And I ended up moving my mom in with us. And I carried a lot of resentment in my heart still with her because she knew everything that was going on in my life and didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And she has her own issues, so that's, but through these Odysseys, actually the last 3, it's taken me a long time and I'm still working on it, but I'm able to see her in a different light and I'm able to be more gracious with her and a little bit more understanding of maybe what she might have been dealing with back then. And we have conversations now, whereas before we didn't, because I didn't really want to hear anything that came out of her mouth,
Yeah.
And I know that's really mean. And honestly, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound more mean, but at that time I didn't care. Yeah. I was helping her and that's all that I was there for. And now it's actually becoming more of a mother-daughter relationship again. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things I feel.
That's so incredible. I can't tell you how many times I've had chills in the course of this conversation.
Sorry.
And that was just another one. So to reiterate and to go back to what I was asking you, what's possible and what I hear you saying. And I actually feel tears in my eyes right now. What I hear you saying is that it's possible for you to have a relationship with your mom.
Yeah. That's where I was going. I just kind of went, huh? Sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, you're fine. I just wanted to highlight that again, because that's what I hear you saying. It's possible for you to have a relationship with your mom. And then the other thing, because we've been playing all of these Odysseys together, that you said that I think is really important also to highlight is that you said that you have a future, you have the possibility of a future. And I know, we play a game in the Polaris game where we talk about things that haven't actually happened, but we talk about them as though they have already happened. And you had a lot of resistance to playing this game with us in the beginning. And so I just think, and I know that you have shown up to do that anyway. And I just think it's so beautiful that there is, you are opening up to dreaming about what's possible beyond today for yourself, which is something that you hadn't allowed yourself to do for many, many years.
Absolutely.
And again, I just have to comment on like the levity that I feel in your smile and in your energy right now.
The vibrancy of you is incredibly different,
Yeah.
I mean, when you first joined, I have to say that, I wasn't in any way thinking that you were a particularly down person or anything. It really wasn't. It was just you were somebody you were bringing your life honestly and authentically to the game. That was it for me. But honestly, the change is huge. Like you're just unfolding and expanding and yeah, it goes on and it's truly inspiring. And I have to say that, each and every person in the game that is doing this for themselves, and especially you, Valinda, is a true inspiration for myself and Tiffany to play our game, because, we're in there playing the game with you. We're not just sort of having you all play the game and we're up there going, right now, do this. We don't ever do anything that we wouldn't be prepared to do. We don't ask you to do anything that we wouldn't be prepared to do ourselves. And the reason why we create this space, like I say, is because it's what we need the most, right?
Yeah.
We're right in there with you, and you really are a support for myself and Tiffany in our lives, like I mean, what you have dealt with and the way, it's the manner in with which you've dealt with it, which is so inspiring. Such grace, such courage.
Thank you.
And I just want to acknowledge you for that. So, and thank you for being everything that you are. I so appreciate you.
Yes, you really are an inspiration. So I have one kind of follow-up question to what's possible for you. Valinda, what is it that makes you feel empowered to make having a relationship with your mom a reality, to make having a future a reality?
Do I feel empowered? You stumped me. Gosh. Just knowing that where I was is years from where I am today gives me hope that I'll be just as far, if not further, even in just a month or 2 months from now. Because literally, like, before I moved my mom in, whenever she would call, I'd be like, oh God, she's calling again. Oh my God. Type thing. Yeah. And I don't have that feeling around her anymore. So I know that if I can get to here, I can get to there, and we've already started talking about little day trips because I'm retired and she's retired, and we've already said, well, maybe on the weekends we can just do like short trips, like go to San Diego, Santa Barbara. And I would never have included her months ago in any of that because I wouldn't want to be locked in a car that long, or whatever. So yeah, it's really, a lot is more possible now than it was even just 3 months ago.
Incredible.
I completely get that. Thank you, Valinda. So just to round up with our questions here, I'd like to ask you, Valinda, what do you feel you've received from this conversation here today?
Different kind of peace, because although was a little nervous coming into this, not knowing what the questions would be, but I kind of had a feeling that my past would be brought up. And I've never spoken openly, except for in the group, about my past.
Sure, right.
And it's kind of freeing. It's kind of a little bit more freeing than just even where I was already free, but it's just a little bit more, it's like, I don't have to be embarrassed or ashamed to talk about it, and I'm more excited for the next Odyssey now. I'm just like, thinking into possibilities and my future. It's like, okay, I think I know what I'm going to play with next Odyssey now. I'm not going to tell you yet.
That is so cool. So cool.
Yeah, so that is amazing. I just want to say, like, I really, really want to acknowledge you right now in this moment. Because there is that freedom that you just spoke about is because you stepped into this space and you owned that. Mm-hmm. So you owned your past in this call today. Yeah. And in front of more people than you've ever before, which means that your past is no longer owning you. Absolutely. And like that just touches me right in the center of my heart, because it was a few years ago that I had a very similar experience, sharing the thing in front of a room full of many people that I didn't know. That 2 days prior would have been the most embarrassing thing for me to say to somebody that I even had a relationship with. Mm-hmm. And that was the very same. There was a moment of magic and a moment of complete empowerment in saying that in that way. And so I want to give you a minute to really be with that. Absolutely. For yourself right now.
And also, I'd like to point out, Valinda, that your past wasn't brought up. You brought it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant.
You chose that. So again, you know, but that shows how powerful you're being. Mm-hmm. You know, that's not me trying to say, oh, we didn't do that. You know, that's me acknowledging you, saying you chose to bring that up. The question was very vague, and you chose to answer it in the way that you said. You spoke about your past in a very open and honest and transparent and powerful way. So that's the kind of person you've become. You know, so yeah, that's why we're so inspired by you. Thank you.
What are you feeling right now? Sorry, Andy.
No, go for it. It's a lovely question. Yeah.
Gratitude, lots of gratitude for the game, for the community, for you guys, for even starting this, because that was one of the biggest things for me is you guys also playing the game alongside of us. You know, a lot of people can say, oh, do this, but it's stepping into that, you know, yourself. And it showed a lot of integrity, and I'm huge on integrity, and you guys haven't faltered once. So I really wanted to say thank you for that. But just giving everybody the space to find themselves. You know, I mean, we've always been here, but I didn't know how to find who I really was. And you push me all the time, Andy, on who am I being? And, you know, and I got it. I am a limitless Voyager. That's who I am.
You are. Yes, you are. Limitless is exactly what you are. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we wrap up, Valinda, is there anything else you feel you want to share? Anything else at all?
No, I've gotten so much out of this call as far as being able to just free myself of thoughts and these feelings. You know, it's amazing. I would recommend this to anybody. And I've always been very resistant on recommending things because I don't want them to know my personal life. That's my business, you know, but it's not as difficult as I thought.
Yes.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yes.
Beautiful.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Valinda, also known as the Unlimited Universal Unicorn. You have totally owned that today. And you're just such an inspiration. And we're so happy to have you with us in the Polaris game and on this podcast today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valinda. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we will be continuing this conversation with Valinda in the Guardians Lounge, which is exclusive to the Follow the Calling podcast community on Facebook. And in there, we regularly invite to community members to join us in that space. So if you're interested in being part of that conversation, be sure to join the Facebook community and watch our welcome video for further instructions. And you can find that link in the show notes. And of course, if you like this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'd be eternally grateful.
I'm really looking forward to continuing the conversation with you, Valinda, in the Guardians Lounge. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. So until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for showing up for yourself and exploring this space with us. We are a stand for you to follow your calling, whatever that might be.
Be sure to subscribe, and if you're interested in playing with the concepts we share on this podcast and you'd like to continue this conversation with us, we invite you to join us in the Follow the Calling podcast community on Facebook, and you can find the link for that in the show notes.